Look at this wonderful 5 sovereign gold piece from the Isle of Man. It is a very cool coin. It's got a lot of history attached to it for the Isle of Man, which we're going to talk about in today's In Focus Friday. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this overview of this wonderfully lovely gold coin. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for this week's edition of In Focus Friday, the show where we take a good close look at cool things made of silver or gold. And this week we're going to be looking at a very nice Isle of Man 5 sovereign gold piece. It's a glorious addition to my gold stack, and one which I've made from 1817 Carl. That's his username on the Silver Forum, but he also has a website here. You can see 1817.co.uk. All of his details are here. Highly recommend him as a seller. He's not paid for this as a promotion or advertising or anything. I'm just a customer who's used him a number of times in the past, all to very, very good results of coins. Absolutely love the things I bought off him, and his service and presentation, as you can see, glorious little package presentation here, has always been sublime. So go and check him out either on his website or the forum. He's a specialist in modern sovereigns, modern gold sovereigns, but he does have other things, modern releases from the Royal Mints and things like that. So go and check him out. Here is the 5 sovereign piece though. It is absolutely lovely. It was on my bucket list of items to purchase. I have got a number of different Isle of Man sovereigns already, all of the Viking sort of noble design, but this one is one of the special releases, one in fact of the first coins that came out of Isle of Man back in the 1960s, and there's a lot of controversy in history about this particular coin, which I really love. I love learning about the history of countries and coins and regions, and just the parts of our history that make us up are fascinating. And the Isle of Man certainly does have some interesting history, and interesting kind of connotations even to this day around tax loopholes and various things like that. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, but first a little bit of specifications about the coin. It is a 5 sovereign piece, so it is 5 times the size of a regular sovereign. This particular one, it's just bullion quality, bullion grade. The purchase price was, I think, about 2.5% over spot price, including postage, from 1817 Carl, so hence I'm not really too bothered with handling it. Obviously I'm not going to actively go and damage it, hold it by the rim and everything, but at the end of the day, it's my coin. It's a bullion grade piece of gold. It's already seen better days in terms of wear. There are loads of little light scratches there. I think it's probably been cleaned at some point with a cloth, so this is by anywhere near anything special above its intrinsic value of gold, which is about 1.2 ounces, just over 1.2 ounces. So it's a really nice chunky piece. You can really see the sort of size of it, and the weight of it is fantastic. In terms of the design, it's got the Trixelian 3-legged symbol there, which is one that's very common through sort of ancient history, and you see it in Greek sort of artifacts as well, but it's essentially meant to be a symbol by which if you throw it, it will always land on its feet. It will always land feet up, which is kind of, I suppose, what the Isle of Man is all about really as well. It's meant to be solid. It's meant to be there always. It's this bridge almost between Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, everywhere. It's this kind of island in the middle of the Irish Sea, which is now a UK Crown dependency, but up until 1765 it was not. It was a privately owned little fiefdom, almost a little island, until it was purchased in 1765, and that is what this coin actually commemorates, the 200-year anniversary of the what's called revestment. So essentially the bringing into the fold of the Isle of Man, and part of the reason for that at the time was because the Isle of Man was this little sore thumb, I suppose, in the sort of Britain of the time. It was very much that point for all smugglers galore, bringing things between and from and to Ireland, England, Scotland, wherever. Because the Isle of Man was not part of Britain, it could not be regulated by Britain, and there were a lot of different smuggling operations. So bringing the Isle of Man into the fold in 1765 allowed the British Empire to very much more control the Isle of Man and regulate it, bring it into the fold. Now, of course, the world is very different to 1765, but the Isle of Man still forms this kind of, I suppose, part of the UK that's not part of the UK. The Isle of Man coins that are in circulation just every day, not precious metal, just every day, you can't use them in the United Kingdom. There are special rules about who can move to the Isle of Man and how much wealth you can have or need to move there, I believe. There are loads of different rules, but it is a UK Crown dependency, so it's a really fascinating place, somewhere that I've never been, but perhaps one day it should be on the bucket list to visit. I hear it's lovely. Obviously, windswept island in the middle of the Irish Sea. Fantastic place to visit, I have no doubt. So the really nice thing about this is that the coin itself is quite unique. It's 1965, the first kind of regular release of sovereigns from the Isle of Man didn't come until the 1970s. And in fact, there was a little bit of controversy about this particular coin release, which came in, by the way, a 3-coin set of a 5 sovereign piece, as you see here, a sovereign and a half sovereign, I believe. So it's really, what's really interesting is the controversy about whether it was legal tender or not, because at the time there had not been an act of parliament to say that coins were actually legal tender. And that didn't happen until the 1970s. Now, this was actually minted by the Royal Mint on behalf of the Isle of Man, I suppose, which another interesting fact I did not know about it, the Isle of Man has one of the longest standing governments in the whole of Europe, if not the world. It's over 1,000 years old. In fact, they celebrated the 1,000-year anniversary in 1979, I believe, is what I'm reading. So it really is a pretty special place, all told. But there was this thing called the Manx Coinage Act of 1970, which set in motion the ability for the Isle of Man to continue creating its own coinage for circulation. So technically this coin was before that, and it did not have legal tender status, and it was of course made of bullion, and there's all of these different interesting things around it. So it is now commonly regarded as a legal piece of tender. That is not an issue now, but I think that's a really nice sort of part of the story for this particular coin and this history around it, which I think is really cool. So all things told, it's a really nice addition to my gold stack. I'm very happy with the service I received from 1817 Carl. I would highly recommend you go and check him out. I suppose really I should be looking for the full set of these now, the 1 ounce and the half ounce sovereigns. They did come in an original box, but I also hear that there's a lot of kind of controversy about the fact that these sets have been split up so much now, and obviously finding a complete set is fairly hard to come by. That said, the mintages on these are in the thousands. There's I think about 1,500 mintage, I believe. I'm also reading that there was a 23.5 carat version. So this is 22 carat version. I think that I'm holding here. The 23.5 carat version is noticeably more gold. It contains more of a gold content, and I don't know exactly about the mintage on the 23.5 carat gold version, but that's what I'm reading from various sources online. So really interesting that there's other versions of this. Maybe that was the sort of proof version and this is the bullion version. I think that's probably likely as to what has actually happened. But in terms of the history of it, the real enjoyment that I've got about learning about this coin and owning this coin, I think is really good. And to have a nice bit of additional cheap price gold entering into my stack is never something to be sniffed at. So very happy with this. The only thing that I am not 100% sure about this is that the capital gains tax exemption would not apply to it, I believe, because it's not technically UK coinage, but it's a crown dependency. So I don't really know about that. I think from memory it's not. So that's something to bear in mind, I suppose, if you've got a really sort of high budget of gold and you're wanting to make sure that you don't kind of breach that capital gains. If you ever do get there. I've made videos on capital gains before in the past. I don't think that's something that most stackers have to worry about, but it is something to be noted. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments section about this particular coin, about the design. Do you prefer it to the Isle of Man Noble? I really should have got that Isle of Man Noble out of storage to show it, but I haven't. So let me know your thoughts. I would love to know what you think. Comment down below if you've enjoyed this video. If you've enjoyed this coin, please put a thumbs up on it and share it around on your social media. And if you are interested in purchasing some sovereigns or even selling sovereigns, then 1817 Carl is most certainly somebody to look at and to find out more information about. Really very good service, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. So go and check them out. There's obviously his website there. I'll put a link in the description below as well, and I'll also link to his Silver Forum profile because he does list things on the forum as well as through his website. Otherwise, that is it from me today. A big thank you to you all for watching. See you on the next video. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button and the alarm bell for notifications when we release others like this. Have a great week. We'll see you on the next video. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.